So I'm going to hold your hand and give you a hug while I say this, because this is what I would have wanted somebody to do for me as they tell me something that I know that I have to face. So as I'm giving you a virtual hug, I want you to know that you can be free from shame and you can live a shame free, shameless life. The Bible says in Isaiah 54, forget the shame of your youth. And I've been heavy on this shame thing, even when I didn't even recognize what the Lord was doing. But He had begun a process to deliver me from shame and show me how shame has led my life since a child. The first thing being, I could never do anything right in the eyes of my parents. But I didn't realize that until I was an adult. Um, I could never do anything right. I was always criticized about the things that I wanted to do, and anything that I desired to do that my heart desired, which I now realize is the gifts and the passions and the calling that God put within me. I was always put to shame about going after what I desired to do. I was always put to shame if I wasn't doing the thing that they wanted me to do. And so as I got older, my relationships were rooted in shame, which led me into self rejection, self accusation, self righteousness, but also inferiority, people pleasing, perfectionism. Like, I just did not want to feel ashamed about living my own life. So here I am at 38 years old in identity recovery because my identity was based in shame. There was nothing that I could do right, even for myself. I even put myself to shame, like self-sabotage, and like, Crystal, you can never do anything right. Why did you do that? How did you do this again? Why are you going through this again? Like, and now I'm like, no fear. It doesn't matter what people think. I had to be free from rejection because growing up, I was constantly rejected, even when I didn't realize I was being rejected. So even when I did try to go to my parents, the people who raised me up, of course, with anything that I knew that I desired to do, I had already put myself to shame, like felt shame around just going to them about it because I knew that their response was going to be based in rejection and based in shame. Like, no, you don't need to go do that. Why do you want to go do that? It doesn't make sense to do that. You should go do this over here. And then if I don't go do the thing that they want me to do, I'm criticized. And also they feel ashamed. And if I make bad decisions, if I don't marry the person they want me to marry, or don't be with this person, or don't do this, or don't go to college for this, or didn't do this, I didn't succeed in the military, shame. Shame on you. You didn't get anything right. I told you so. I've heard this up until just, I don't think I've heard it this year yet from my dad, but up until I would say December 2024, I've heard those things and it was still punching me like I was a punching bag. But now I can say that God is delivering me because I'm aware and understanding. But not just that, God is walking me through and He's doing the inner work. So now I'm like, Lord, show me who I am. Who is this woman that is not rooted in shame? Who is she? Where's like her identity? Who is Crystal not rooted in shame? Because I have moments where I'm like, whoa, who am I? Because what I thought I knew is not true. And so now God is leading me into truth. And I'm just like, whoa. So even who I identified myself with growing up was not really who I was. Even in my adult years, it's not who I was. So I've been watching this psychologist on YouTube. His name is Tim Fletcher. And when I tell y'all he showed up on my algorithm at the right time, God's algorithm, right? He talks about complex trauma and shame based trauma. And all of the things that he has been saying is like, wow, you are reading my life. Literally reading my life. And he says some amazing, like, I mean, and so as I listened to those things, it once I first started listening to him, I was like, whoa, this is too much for me. I'll revisit at a later time. But then I just kept feeling drawn to his videos, and um there are so many things that he points out about living in, like, it's complex trauma. It's trauma when you have been rooted in a shame based, fear based life, and it developed through the people who raised you. It becomes trauma. And I remember when I used to think that trauma was like a physical thing, like um people getting in car accidents and things like that. Like, I didn't think trauma as emotional, mental, spiritual. But the trauma of identifying with the things that were said to me, and if I and here's one thing, and this is gonna be a part one. I'm just gonna be sharing this journey as I go along. Here's one thing that I recognize that I was dealing with a lot growing up, and it affected my marriage, it affected my parenting, it affected me as a career person. Like, I was never able to establish a career I'm 38. Never established a career, never established myself to have steady income, never established myself financially. Like, I see now how I was constantly fighting for my life and fighting to stay above water. And so all of the things that I have been doing, as I look back, I'm like, what have I been doing? Because I established nothing. I'm like literally pedaling, treading, trying to stay on top of water for the last 20 years for sure. I've been married for almost 20 years. So imagine being in a marriage, raising 6 kids, still trying to please my parents, all rooted in shame, like self-sabotage, so many things going on. But anyway, one of the things I recognize for sure, and I thank God for growth, I thank God for maturity, because it's in these little things that I see that I've grown, is like going through a separation after, like, I've been separated from my husband for a year. And so when I first started going through this separation, y'all, I had to like suck it up and tell my parents. And that was the last thing I wanted to do. And that's how I knew I was living in a place in my mind where it's like I can't even tell my parents what I'm going through, because I already knew what the response was going to be from my dad and my mom. And my dad was like, I told you so. Like, I told you you shouldn't have left Florida. I told you shouldn't have, like, you shouldn't have married him without saying you shouldn't have married him. I told you should have went in the military. You would have been able to do this and do that. I told you to do this. I told you to do that. See, and nothing worked out for you. Shame on you. Without him saying shame on you. You should have listened to me. Very judgmental, very critical, but it also felt very disrespectful, very childish, like he was still looking at me as a child. And that was the red flag for me. And that has been the work that I've been doing. Like, the question of, like, why do I still feel like I'm a child? Like, I'm stuck in an era somewhere and I'm a little girl. But what I come to learn is that I had to go back and get her in from that moment of, like, when shame took place, like, initially, and go back and get her and grow up and bring her, like, okay, you're free, like, you're free. But when I recognized, like, looking at my dad, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to take this anymore. You're not going to make me feel ashamed about any decision that I made. Like, what happened to being a parent and talking to me and encouraging me and talking me through these things? I'm human. I'm not going to be perfect in the eyes of man. But in God's eyes, I'm perfect. I've made not the best decisions. I made bad decisions. I didn't do my best, but I'm not here to live life for you. And so that's what I was doing. And I felt ashamed about everything that I did. It made it hard for me to make decisions, like indecision, double mindedness. Like I couldn't do anything right because of shame. It's like I didn't want to make the wrong decision. And gosh, y'all, like God is so good to even be at this point to even be talking about it, like, so to encourage the woman that knows that she has lived a life rooted in shame that has led to guilt. You felt guilty about a lot of things, decisions that you made. You felt guilt about things you did and did not do. Like even right now at 38, I could believe the statement of, oh, I'm 38 years old, I should be way farther along than I am. And I was believing that at one point, but now I see that that's not the case. God is a redeemer, God is a restorer, and he can go back and fix the time in my life. And for such a time as this, because all things work together for the good of those who love him. All things work together for my good. God will get the glory. So I'm not too late. I'm not too, like, I'm perfect timing for such a time as this. I'm in the right place at the right time. And I had to go through the things that I had to go through for God to get the glory. If I were to ever act like I cannot go through anything, why am I going through this? Which I used to do that. I don't play that role no more. I'm like, okay, God, how are you working this out for me? Okay, me and my family and the generations to come, and also the people that I am just called to minister to. Okay, minister this ministry. It's just God will get the glory. So you don't have to, you could be free from shame. And you may feel like you're far away from it. You may feel like, how, what is life? Because that's all I know is to be put to shame. What is life? Because all I know is to not have peace. What is life? Because all I know is that everything I do is not right. I'm always criticized for it. I can never do anything right. They're never satisfied, or whoever is never satisfied with anything, but you can live a shame free life. So let the Lord free you today, okay? Because he has so much more for you. That life that you know, that you've seen, but you just haven't been able to reach. It's right there. But he just needs you to release all the shame and all the guilt and the rejection and the all of the things, the words that have just constantly stabbed and jabbed and all of the things. Release it. That's what he needs you to do. No more shame. No more guilt. No more rejection. You will no longer be put to shame.